Speaking of your dogs, you have 3 now?
Yeah, 3 of them.
All rescues?
Yeah, they just kind of show up. I mean, it started 8 years ago in the middle of the night. I mean, I just bought my house, and like 2 months later, in the middle of the night, there's like it doesn't even sound like howling. It sounds like this pained scream or howl thing, and it's going on. And I'm like, wow, is that a coyote? What is that? And then it's midnight. My neighbor knocks on my door and goes, dude, you got to do something about your dog. I'm like, I don't have a dog. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, but you've heard that, right? I'm like, I do. What is that? Is that someone's dog? He's like, it is. I'm like, wow. So I felt compelled to go outside and try to well, where is that coming from?
Of course.
I'm walking around the block. I'm hearing the howling. And then I'm finding myself walking into my backyard. I'm like, it's getting louder. This is weird. Maybe my neighbor had some. And then I go in and I see just this shape dart behind my garage. And I'm like, oh no.
In your backyard.
Yeah. Is this a coyote?
You're like, am I going to get eaten?
I know. And then I go behind my garage and there's just teeth and growling. And I'm like, oh shit. And then like a douchebag, I opened the gate and was like, get out. Anyway, long story short, he did not leave. And he stayed behind my garage for 3 days.
Wow.
And so I'm like, well, if you're going to stay behind there, I may as well bring you food and water. So I bring
that's a smart thing to do if you don't want a dog.
Yeah, right. Well, and I'm thinking, it's all good. And then eventually, after 3 days, he starts following me back to the house. Like I kind of pull the curtains aside and I see the glass door and he's just standing there looking at me.
That couch looks awfully comfortable.
Well, that was the thing. So I opened the door and I'm like, okay, but you're filthy. So come with me. And I picked him up and we got in the bathtub together. And that was how I learned he wasn't going to bite me.
I was going to say, it is incredibly trusting of you that and this is a pit bull. Was this a pit bull?
This is an American bulldog pit bull mix of all kinds of boxer. Yeah.
So FYI, I don't recommend this to people listening at home. Don't do what Sam did.
No.
It may not end this way.
But what's interesting is that he stayed largely in one spot for 3 days.
Yeah, he was terrified.
The thing about dogs and stuff, they say there's the 3 day, 3 week, 3 month, and their adjustment
I don't know that.
I just learned this last week, I think.
Huh.
But I'm like, how interesting, because he did stay behind my garage for 3 days. And only then was he willing to sort of venture out and kind of check things out. And I kept visiting him.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, he's that guy. Well, where do you go, that guy? I would like to come with you. What is this place?
I was like, what is this nice warm house inside?
And so we got in the bathtub and he hated it, but I washed all the dirt out of him. And then he was checking everything out, jumped up on the couch and passed out. And he hasn't left since.
Oh, he was
exhausted.
exhausted.
8 years, yeah. But he
poor
was,
thing.
that's Leonard. And he helped me rescue 2 other dogs that were in sort of similar situations.
Did they also show up at your house?
Pretty much, yeah. One of them was a trick. I have a friend named Ainsley who was like, this pit bull, we need to get this pit bull into a shelter. So I'm like, well, I can be your backup if you don't find anyone. And so she didn't find anyone. And she was hoping Sam's going to fall in love with this dog.
Of course.
And I did. And so that was dog number 2. That was Buster. And then Buster and Leonard helped me rescue dog number 3, which was found during lockdown.
I was going to say recent.
In Elysian Park during lockdown. And my whole bright idea was to track this dog down, herd him into this area, and then let Leonard...
I remember this. You put this on social media.
Yeah.
I remember this entire thing now that you're saying this.
Let him off the leash. I'm like, go make friends, boys, because he won't let me... And it worked.
That is amazing that it worked.
Yeah. It's kind of because they at first let off the leash and they charge over there, but it was a playful charge.
Yeah.
And apparently the dog who was scared at first was like, wait, they're not, they want to hang. And so it took a few hours, but then we got him back. So dogs.
Dogs are very interesting. I can't have big dogs because I don't train my dogs. And there's one thing if a Chihuahua bites you, and it's another thing if a big dog bites you. So
Meatball was well trained. What are you talking about?
Meatball was very well trained to find craft service and never come back.
He knew exactly.
where his bread was buttered every day. It was at the craft service table. That dog was huge.
Clever.
He was huge. He was very smart though. That dog was never on a leash.
No.
He knew where to go.
Yeah.
He used to follow me down the streets of New York.
How cool was it to have Meatball on set and stuff? I mean,
He was
that
always with me.
Yeah.
He sat in my chair on set. Like, he didn't cry. He didn't bark. He just
Super cool.
sat there. He wasn't there every day, but he was in my trailer every day. He didn't come to set every day.
Meetings with producers.
All the time.
He was, yeah, exactly.
He was always with
Harvey
me.
Fran and him were like buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always with me. And then I got Nelly Bean. And so, you know, Nelly Bean was raised in a trailer, so she loves television. She passed away, but she loved television. I would put on Animal Planet, and she would just watch TV all day.
Yeah.